Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, welcome to a brand new episode of Talking Cinema. Now, I will actually be talking about a TV show at one point in this video, but that's really the only exception to the cinema rule here. I don't have a lot of new movie news to talk about because really what is there? Most of the new films that are going to be coming out next year are all going to be films that were supposed to come out this year. And if we do get any new stuff, it's more than likely just going to be a direct-to-video or direct-to-streaming film or an independent movie. There's really not going to be a whole lot of new projects that are going to be announced or going to be in development until we get a vaccine and until things calm down. And that's perfectly understandable. The landscape for cinema going forward is going to be very different until things get better. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is some trailers. So, might as well start off with a rant on the trailer for The Craft Legacy, the new Craft sequel that's going to be coming out this October. Blumhouse did a press release, and they essentially insinuated that this isn't a remake, it's a sequel. But when you watch the trailer, it's a fucking remake. This is a remake through and through. The only thing that ties it to the original or to the first film is a Polaroid of Fairuza Balk's character. That's it. You just have a Polaroid of Balk's character from the first film, and that's the only connection that this remake has with the original film or the first movie. They even have a line of dialogue that they copy from the first film, a homage, "We're the weirdos," you know? But the thing is, it's the same beats, it's the same plot as the first film. A group of outcasts who are alienated at their school. These girls decide to team up and learn witchcraft and then have to deal with the consequences of that, and so on and so forth. But unlike The Craft, the cast here is completely uncharismatic. They have no chemistry. They are bland as bland can be. The film looks like it has zero darkness and edge to it. It really looks like an episode of a CW take on The Craft. The Craft coming soon to the CW. Like really, that's when you watch this trailer, it looks like it is your typical generic, cliched, crappy CW show. And speaking of crap, what the hell is up with those crappy effects? Like, there's fucking sparkles in this trailer. Since when was The Craft and the magic about fucking sparkles? Like, they're straight out of Twilight, or they just used a Snapchat filter in post-production. What the hell is up with that shit? And David Duchovny? Really? You're so desperate for a job, you have to slum your way in a Craft remake? God, you would be better off slumming your way advertising for Kraft macaroni and cheese. But anyway, yeah, the Craft Legacy looks like an absolute pile of shit. It looks god awful. And it's a remake. Stop trying to say it's a sequel. It's a fucking remake. Even if one or two of the characters from the first film show up in cameos, it's still a remake for the most part. I'm sorry. If you have like 2% or 1% of the original film in terms of a tie-in to your movie, that doesn't mean that your film is a sequel. You need to have more of a connection to the first film to call yourself a sequel. That's just how I personally feel about it. But, yeah, that was trash. But speaking of stuff that isn't trash, I saw the trailer for Dune. The more times I watch this trailer, the more I am genuinely intrigued and impressed by it. I know some people aren't really that big on it. They didn't think the visuals were that spectacular. I respectfully disagree. I thought this looked stunning. The more I see this trailer, the more I warm up to the various other performances by the cast, including Timothée Chalamet. Denis Villeneuve has already shown that he has a keen eye for visuals, and with Blade Runner 2049 and Sicario, so he really is one of the best possible choices to do a new adaptation of Dune. Well, ultimately, I think it would be hard for it to top David Lynch's Dune for me, from a visual standpoint, in terms of how stunning that film was. I think it'll ultimately wind up becoming a better adaptation of the Dune story. But overall, I really did like that trailer. I particularly loved the remix of the Pink Floyd song. I don't know why I couldn't say Pink Floyd there for a second. Yeah, I particularly really liked that remix of The Dark Side of the Moon. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see if it actually does come out in theaters in December. That's a film I actually would like to see in the theater. Maybe risk, some things and see it in IMAX. But we'll see what happens. There's also a film called Freaky, which is coming out later this year with Vince Vaughn and a few other actors and actresses. This one looks like fun. It's a combination of two genres that I'm a fan of. I like gender swap movies. I think I think there's a lot of potential to do a lot of different sort of things, not only comedy wise but storytelling wise. And this is a unique blend of gender swap and a slasher movie. And it's from the same guys who did Happy Death Day. So I think Freaky has potential. I think it looks like it might be a fun movie. I don't know if it's going to really get a theatrical release, but we'll see what happens. It definitely shows more potential than Hubie Halloween. Adam Sandler, man, just stop. I guess he apparently did this before Uncut Gems, but he still should have never done this. This is a Adam Sandler horror comedy. Now, he had done that with an animated form with Hotel Transylvania and those movies and did a good job with those. But in live action, what you get is zombie Adam Sandler, who's just slumming his way through his performance. Probably just did it once again to have a vacation somewhere and hang out with his friends. And he can't be himself anymore in these movies. He has to put on this stupid accent or do this or that, and it's really a shame. And it's a shame that this horror comedy, this concept of Adam Sandler in a horror comedy, is just now being done in live action. Like 20 years ago, or even 15 years ago, that would have been a really novel concept, and that would have had a lot of potential. But as it is, it's just one of those things. It's too little, too late, and Adam Sandler as an actor no longer has the same passion as he once did. So you could have all these great comedians in your cast, but it doesn't mean dick if it's not funny. I didn't laugh one time in this trailer, and I was just annoyed to all fucking hell by Adam Sandler's character in this, Hubie, with his Waterboy voice. I don't get it, man. Like, just retire if you're gonna just do this fucking bullshit. Or just pass on it. Just pass on the fucking project. You've got enough fucking money, Adam. Just pass on it for your own fucking dignity. But yeah, Hubie Halloween looks like a flaming bag of dog shit on your doorstep. Then I'm trying to see if there's... Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about Synchronic. Synchronic looks really good. Synchronic is from the same guys who did Spring and Resolution. Anthony Mackie is the lead, and it looks like a really imaginative, unique blend of time travel, science fiction, and horror. And I am sold. I really like the trailer for that one. I recommend you check out that trailer because I think it's one of the most impressive looking films visually that I've seen, well, at least a trailer for, other than Dune. And it looks like it definitely has potential to be a legitimately solid film. Another film that looks interesting is Possessor, which is a movie that is directed by David Cronenberg's son. So this is the second film from his son's filmography. He did a film called Antiviral, and now he's doing Possessor. It's got some. It's got a horror, body horror take on VR that definitely also shows promise and looks intriguing. Got some good news about a couple horror documentaries. The documentary Straight to Video, which is going to be about 90s horror, that's actually going to be coming out this October. And as well as Wolfman's Got Nards, which is a documentary and love letter to the Monster Squad. So those are going to be coming out later this year. I think this October. So yeah, that's really about it for the trailers. I just wanted to give my thoughts on Dune and a few others. Now I want to talk about the TV show, and the TV show is Beavis and Butthead. So Mike Judge is returning to do more Beavis and Butthead, and initially when I heard this, I thought it showed potential and showed promise because Mike Judge is returning, and he is the brainchild and in a lot of ways the father of these two characters and of this franchise. So I thought, okay, the last time he came back and did Beavis and Butthead, it actually turned out really good. So he's coming back. It's not MTV, it's Comedy Central. So he could probably be more edgy and take more risks. And then I just recently found out the news and the idea of what the concept is for Beavis and Butthead, the new show. Beavis and Butthead are dads. They're adults now. They've grown up. They've had kids. And it's going to be about them raising their kids. And more than likely probably going to be more about their kids than about Beavis and Butthead. If that's the case, fuck this show. I know some people would be like, hey, you gotta wait to see. I'll still check it out and give it a shot. But I got no faith, and I got absolutely not even a single ounce of excitement for this show anymore. Because that idea is fucking stupid. And I heard it's going to be like Gen X versus Gen Y or whatever, millennials versus boomers. I'm like, please, you're going to turn Beavis and Butthead into fucking boomers or whatever? Or not boomers, probably to turn them into, what is it? Yeah, it's Gen X, which they've always been. But then they're going to, get into fights and shit with their kids or whatever. This concept is terminal. It's fucking terminal. Who in the fan base of Beavis and Butthead has ever wanted to see these two guys grow up and become dads? I don't want to fucking see that shit. I don't want to see Beavis and Butthead grow up and get older and have kids, and then the focus of the show more than likely be around their kids. And that ruins one of the best jokes and gags in the entire series. Here lies Beavis, he never scored. Like now, oh, nope, he scored. Definitely scored, and so did Butthead. What is this fucking bullshit? So yeah, when I heard that, I was like, no. Just no. I hope they just drop that idea. I hope that's not actually what they're gonna do. Maybe it's an idea Mike Judge is throwing around, or maybe it's one that they're considering, but they haven't actually made a final decision on. If that's the case, just drop it now. Because what's the point of bringing back Beavis and Butthead if you're not bringing them back the way that people remember them? There is literally no point in doing another Beavis and Butthead if we have to be relegated to adult Beavis and Butthead being dads to their kids. But that's just me personally. If you're looking forward to it, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But when I heard about that, I was like, that's fucking lame. That's so shitty. So, yeah, I wanted to definitely rant about that. Oh, there's one more trailer I wanted to talk about. Love and Monsters. So you got the guy from the Maze Runner films and Michael Rooker, and it seems like a young adult teenage romance slash monster movie, but it isn't taking itself too seriously. And I think it's Dylan O'Brien. I think that's who the lead is. I could be completely wrong, but I didn't mind it. I think the CGI is pretty bad, and I think this would have been a much better trailer and potentially a much better film if they just did most of it practical. But the idea is not that bad to me, and it looks like it's having some fun with the concept, and Michael Rooker at least looks like he's got a lot to do. And despite the CGI looking a bit janky at times, there are some shots that actually look pretty good. So, I don't know. It's coming direct to video, direct to streaming, so I'll give it a watch sometime. It honestly surprised me. I thought that the title I thought was just going to be I thought it was going to be total cringe based on the title, but I ultimately the trailer wasn't really that awful. It wasn't nearly on the same level of garbage as the Craft Legacy. So now let's get into talking about some upcoming DVD and Blu-ray releases. So Akira is getting a 4K release from, I think, what is it, Studio Canal. So that's pretty cool that Akira is getting a brand new Blu-ray that's going to be coming out pretty soon. New remaster. I think it's coming out later this year. The Golden Child is finally getting a Blu-ray release officially from Paramount, from the Paramount Presents label, and actually has a new remaster, which I'm really surprised that it actually does have a new remaster. It has a new 4K scan. It has a making of documentary featurette, which probably won't have a whole lot of interviews or a whole lot of extra detail, but I'm still curious to see it regardless. It's got the theatrical trailer, a pretty cool looking presentation for the box that the Blu-ray is going to come in. I'm just glad that it's getting a new release and it's getting a remaster. I mean, Paramount could have easily just been lazy and not even done a remaster, but they're actually going out of their way and actually doing a 4K remaster of it, which I think that's just really quite grand and quite golden. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies, so I'm really looking forward to adding that to my collection. I think it comes out in, what is it, December? Yeah, it comes out in December. Speaking of Eddie Murphy, Paramount's also doing Trading Places and Coming to America. Coming to America is actually getting a 4K remaster and a 4K release. And there is also going to be a 4K Blu-ray of Beverly Hills Cop. I wish there was a 4K Blu-ray of Beverly Hills Cop 2, but maybe if this one sells well enough, maybe they'll do that. I hope Paramount winds up doing one for 48 hours and another 48 hours. Because that's something that I would definitely be interested in as well. Drive with Ryan Gosling, that's getting a 4K release. I actually would like to pick that up when it comes out because I think that film will look fantastic in 4K. So that's coming out from Sony in 2021. And then Arrow is just bringing out the red carpet treatment for Tremors. Tremors is getting a new release from Arrow Video, and it is packed with features. Multiple different featurettes, a new 4K remaster. There's a 4K UHD version as well as a regular Blu-ray version. It's the ultimate release of Tremors for fans of the film. It's got a new 4K restoration. It's got a 60-page book. It's got a poster. It's got audio commentaries. It's got a brand new documentary called Making Perfection, featuring interviews with Kevin Bacon, Michael Gross, Ariana Richards, Ron Underwood, Brent Maddock, and S.S. Wilson. It's got a few new interviews as well. So yeah, absolutely loaded to the brim. Even has some lobby cards that are going to come with it. That is a definite must own for me and for any fan of Tremors. Vinegar Syndrome is also rolling out the red carpet for their release of Beastmaster. So they're doing a 4K release of the Beastmaster, which is going to be coming out in November. It's got a new 4K scan from Interpositive. It's got a 40 pound, not 40 pounds. Like, if it was 40 pounds, that would be ridiculous. A 40-page bound book. It also has a multi-part feature-length making of documentary. Has some of the extras that are ported over from the DVD releases. So that's definitely one worth getting if you're a fan of the Beastmaster. Seems like that's going to be the definitive release for that film. Vinegar Syndrome is also going to be finally releasing Fade to Black, the 1980 underrated, unheralded horror film starring Dennis Christopher. That is finally going to be getting a Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome. Don't know all the details yet, but it's going to be coming out on their Black Friday sale. I will 100% be checking my watch, checking the date, and making sure I lock in a copy of that, because I really do like that film, and I've been waiting for it to get a Blu-ray for a long, long, long time. Speaking of the Blu-ray releases, Kino Lorber is going to be releasing DC Cab, Joel Schumacher film that features Mr. T, Gary Busey. I think Gary Busey is in it, among multiple other different cast members. That's going to be making its debut on Blu-ray through Kino Lorber later this year. They're also going to be doing a newer release of My Science Project. Sadly, nothing really that new and extensive in terms of features, which is disappointing. But at least now they're going to come out with a newer release so that you don't have to worry about paying a little bit absurd prices for an out-of-print release. Kino Lorber is also doing a jam-packed Blu-ray for Deep Star 6, which has a lot of different interviews with multiple different cast members. So that definitely looks like it's going to be a Blu-ray release that is worth picking up if you're a fan of Deep Star 6. I'm not even the biggest fan of Deep Star 6, and I still want to get that because the features look interesting. Speaking of Gary Busey, I mentioned him earlier. Eye of the Tiger, his unheralded action movie, is going to be coming out through Kino Lorber as well. Actually, is it Kino Lorber? Yeah, it's Kino Lorber and Scorpion. So it's going to be a collaboration between those two. No information yet on what the features are going to be, or specifically when the release date is going to be, but it seems like it's going to be coming out pretty soon. Maybe in the next couple months or sometime next year. Then you have imprint releases from Via Vision Entertainment, which is an Australian company. An imprint's an Australian company, and they are going to be releasing Dead Again with Kenneth Branagh, uh, and Fire in the Sky. Fire in the Sky, the overlooked alien abduction movie with D.B. Sweeney and Robert Patrick. That is going to be getting a official Blu-ray release from Via Vision and Imprint. It's going to be coming out in December, and it is loaded with features. You have an audio commentary, a new audio commentary with the director Robert Lieberman. You have interviews with the visual effects art director and supervisor. You have an interview with the composer Mark Isham. You have an interview with Travis Walton himself. You have an interview with Robert Patrick, an interview with D.B. Sweeney. So I don't think it has a new transfer. It's got a 1080p high definition presentation, but I don't think it's a different transfer than what's already been out there in terms of HD for the film. But it's an official release, and I already locked in a copy. It cost me a good chunk of change, like $40 or something shipped from Australia to the US because of import and all of that. But to me, it was worth it. And speaking of import, there's going to be a release of Werewolf the Series from a company called Elephant Films. And it's a French release. It is region locked. So if you're not region free, you really aren't going to be able to check it out. And it does have a French version of the show, but it also has an English version. So it has an English audio track for the show, and if you're region free, you should be good to go. Considering all the rights issues and all the problems that this particular series has had getting an official release, this might be the closest that anyone is ever going to get to seeing this show in decent quality and on home video in its entirety, not counting bootleg releases. Yeah, apparently it's going to be remastered, and it's going to... So I also pre-ordered a copy of that. Took me a little bit to kind of figure it out, because I've never really pre-ordered anything from a French website, but I managed to work it out through this site called FNAC. I learned a new thing, that Etats Unis is... etats, it's etats. Etats Unis is the United States in French. Did not know that until I tried to get myself a copy of Werewolf the Series. That's supposed to be coming out in October for French audiences, but it seems like it's going to be more like November-ish when it comes to coming to anybody who ordered it, who wanted to get it in the U.S. Speaking of November, Second Sight's long-awaited box set of Dawn of the Dead, George Romero's classic sequel, it got delayed, so it's going to be coming out in November instead of October. Anyone who ordered from base.com, they're not going to get theirs because base.com didn't follow certain protocols with something going on with the EU. So they were trying to cut corners. They got caught on it, and so now they have to cancel all the orders. I got mine from Deep Discount, the 4K UHD set. I have been in contact with them, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to make sure that they aren't also going to be affected. Diabolique, from what I've read, is not, and neither is Zavi. So if you ordered through either of those, you should be fine. If you don't want the 4K set and you just want the Blu-ray set, Amazon UK actually just recently lifted the ban on pre-orders for the Blu-ray sets for people in the United States. So there is that option as well. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, that's the other really big box set for me that I'm really looking forward to this year. Of course, you also have the Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory. But I already pre-ordered that, and I'm looking forward to seeing the uncut footage from part two. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, there's this is a little bit random, but I saw a listing for a making of the Ghoulies franchise book. It's from a huge fan of the franchise, who's located in the UK. I think it's a book that is going to be published from a UK publisher. So, uh, if that's something that interests you, definitely pick that up sometime or pre-order it. I'm gonna look into. Just want to make sure I have the title. The Complete History of Ghoulies by Graham Leneve Painter. It's from Waterstones. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on if you're a fan of Ghoulies, or you just like reading books about behind the scenes and so on and so forth. Total Recall is getting a 4K release. I think it's sometime this December or November or something, from Lionsgate and Studio Canal. I think there's actually going to be some new features, which I'm definitely curious about. The Dune TV series from Sci-Fi Channel, that's getting a Blu-ray release from a particular studio. I think it's an overseas studio. Arrow Video has already essentially teased that they're going to be doing David Lynch's Dune. I don't know what the details are of that, though, and I don't know when it's going to be coming out. And speaking of stuff that I don't know what's going to be coming out, but details are coming out a little bit more. Synapse's release of The Kindred, they are still working hard on it, as well as the Deadly Spawn. But COVID impacted a lot of things at their location, so a lot of stuff has been postponed or suspended. They're starting back to they're starting to work on things again, but things are a work in progress. They apparently are going to be teaming up with MVD, so Synapse is not going to be solely just his own brand anymore, which I find interesting, and that's definitely a shift in power, or definitely a change in the norm, so to speak, for Synapse. But it's just nice to hear that, you know, May is still working, and this stuff is still in the works, and that they haven't shut down, so to speak, like a lot of other places have had to. There's a lot of video stores, a lot of vintage video stores had to shut down because of COVID. Vulcan Video, I Love Video in Austin, Texas, and who knows what more casualties are gonna arise from COVID. What's going to happen to some of these movie theaters, like the Alamo Draft House or the Hollywood Theater here in Portland, Oregon. I don't know. I hope that they still keep their doors open, but there's no guarantees, and that really does suck, and that's a bummer. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I talked about pretty much every release that I really wanted. I guess there's one other one I could talk about. Try to end things on a higher note that isn't so depressing. Shout Factory is doing a Shout Select release of Twins, and Twins is going to be making its Blu-ray debut pretty soon. No reviews with Arnold Schwarzenegger or Danny DeVito, probably because of COVID, but still very disappointing. Also, considering the fact that, Arnold is such a big fan of the film, but I guess he just didn't want to talk about it. I think there's like a conversation with the director and maybe a couple other, like one other thing, but there's really not a whole lot in terms of the features. Hopefully, at least it's a different scan, but I don't even know if that's the case. But, yeah, that's a release that's going to be coming out pretty soon as well by by Shout Factory. Anyway, I got nothing else to say except thank you for watching this new installment of Talking Cinema. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.